All right. Good afternoon and welcome. This is our final week of the quarter and our last Monday meeting. So today is our first of 3 presentation days. So we have 6 people slotted to present today, each giving a presentation about 5 or 6 minutes long. So we'll get to that in just a moment, but I just have a couple things that I want to let you know about in regards to how presentations and so on will be structured. We have this Monday through Friday. The final quiz, I've pushed the deadline to the 19th on Sunday. And then the extra credit opportunity is also due by the end of the day on the 19th. Just as a reminder, if you have missing classes or other missing assignments, just get them to me by the 19th. That's my hard cutoff. Before I'll need to submit grades. So just make sure that you're doing the work, get all of that stuff done. Your grades should all be up until the assignments that were submitted yesterday. So we have 6 folks presenting today in order. So Angela, Lena, Ryan, Gavin, and Devin. So we'll have them share in just a minute. I have downloaded the presentation slides and so on that I've received so far. So we'll get those fired up in just a second. For presenters. So if you're presenting today, what I'll be doing is keeping time. I will use hand signals to let you know when you're getting close to the 6-minute limit, right? So 2, victory sign is 2 minutes remaining. That means you've used 4 minutes, you have 2 minutes left. This is 1 minute remaining when you're at 5 minutes, and then I'll do a fist to indicate when you're at time. If you reach time, just use that to wrap up your current thought or idea. If you're not presenting, I ask you to please listen respectfully for the presenter. Avoid using your phone, laptop, etc. Unless you're using it to take notes. I'll be sitting in the back and part of the audience too. And then I'll help to get those slides and all that together. We'll be able to use this as a way to advance and move between slides. For non-presenters, so if you're presenting today, right, then that counts as your attendance. Just be here for the rest of the class, listen to other folks presenting, and you're good for credit. If you're not presenting today, the way that I'll be taking attendance for today is I'll be asking you to choose 2 of the presentations and to, over the course of listening to them, write or type and then send by the end of the day to me a response that explains the group that the student observed, what stood out to you about the presentation, and how that student's observation could connect to the course. So there's 6 presentations. You can choose 2 of them, and then just to record on those and share those with me. I also have, again, those slides uploaded before class to let you refer back to this prompt if you need to as well. So before we get started on presentations for today, any questions about presentation schedule, organization, anything like that? So again, we'll go in order. After we hear from each presenter, what I'll do is just take a moment to get the next one up and ready to go. So the first presenter that we have here for class is Angelin. So Angelin, I will go ahead and pull up your slides so that we can get started. Review. Yeah, you emailed that to me, so I have all of that ready to go. And so, Angela, thank you for being our first presenter, and you're welcome to use the keyboard, the arrows, or click to advance as we're working through the slides. So let's go ahead and hear from our first presenter, Angela.
Okay, so for my small group observation, I decided to observe the UU Faculty Senate meeting, and I chose this group because I couldn't find any other meetings that worked with my schedule, and some of the clubs and organizations that I did email did not get back to me, or they just weren't having meetings at this time. And so what is Faculty Senate? Faculty Senate is a representative body at UU that has legislative responsibilities. They also have the authority to discuss and take action as provided by Oregon law and this can be on any university issue the faculty senate deems necessary. And they also accept, consider, and act upon recommendations from various committees at UU. And the faculty senate consists of officers, and they have a president who's Ashley Walker, vice president Nicole Howard, secretary Doug Briney, representative to the university council Jared Dolan. So the format of this meeting took place via Zoom, and it happens on the first Tuesday of every month from 3 to 5 p.m. And in this meeting, there were various EOU professors, the faculty senate officers that I just mentioned, and some EOU students that are also part of organizations within the campus. And during this meeting, they discussed faculty tenure for online professors, as well as information on the Title III grant. And there was also a presentation on various informational items concerning the university. So the organization style of this meeting, they did follow Robert's Rule of Order and parliamentary procedure. So at the beginning of the meeting, the leader, which was the president, Ashley, she made sure that there was the right amount of people that was there, and that the people that needed to be there was present before she started the meeting. And she also presented the previous meeting minutes to the group, and once this was presented and everyone was able to look over them, someone made a motion to pass the meeting minutes. The meeting minutes were then seconded, and it was open for debate, and there was no debate. And some tasks that were completed during this meeting is that the president made sure to take meeting minutes so that everyone recalls what was discussed during this meeting, and she also recorded the Zoom. Throughout the meeting, they also followed an agenda to stay on task. So leadership roles and traits. The president, I viewed her as a leader, as conductor, because she brought the group together for a common goal during this meeting. The agenda was presented and it shared all the goals for this current meeting. And throughout the meeting, she used orientation and education to help the group understand certain ideas that was brought up during the discussion. And she also used assessment and correction to guide the group back on track. At one point during the meeting, someone wanted to bring up a topic that was further down in the agenda, and she corrected them by telling them that we needed to follow the agenda and focus on one task at a time. And she also created group emphasis by bringing the group back on track whenever the discussion drifted off way too far off topic. So through this group observation, I learned more about Robert's Rule of Order, and I was able to see it put into action and see how other group members actually follow this procedure. And I also learned about the effectiveness of agenda. If a meeting starts and they don't have a clear point of what they want to discuss, it can sort of be all over the place. And since they had an agenda, it was easy and made the meeting effective because they knew what to follow and discuss next. And I also learned about Faculty Senate and what their role is here at UU. And some connections between key ideas from class. Like I said before, this meeting followed Robert's Rule of Order, and I also learned more about leadership roles and was able to see how each member played a different role in this meeting. And with virtual meetings, I was able to see how the reading tips for virtual meetings was used within this meeting to help make this meeting run smoothly and effectively. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for bravely leading us against it. I really like the way your presentation, talking about the Faculty Senate meetings, we were able to touch on Robert's rules, right? Organizational structure, particularly in a large and somewhat formal meeting like that one, having that type of organizational structure was a crucial way that that group could stay on task and do the things that they needed to do. I really like the way you were able to hit on some of the group organization, leadership styles, and so on that the group did. So I think you did a great job of starting us off, getting us thinking about some core ideas related to group organization, behavior, and structure. And really enjoyed you getting us thinking about some of these concepts. So our second speaker for the day is Alina. So Alina got the slides all ready for you to be able to move forward and back through there. So whenever you're ready, feel free to get us started.
So I observed the Ag Club. I observed this group on the 21st of the last month. It was at the top of Hope on the 3rd floor in the conference room that they have. At 5 p.m. they had their Ag Dinner and Dance Committee meeting, which was the longer of the two meetings. And then the 5:30 meeting was their regular club meeting. The first meeting was roughly 10 people, and this was like way better to observe for like small group. The second meeting, although there was more people, it was definitely segregated out into like the leadership groups and the groups that were doing different things for the Ag Dinner Dance. I selected this group based on the agricultural background. I'm from farming community, and they're very open in communication by email and in person, so it was really easy to get in contact with them quickly. So in the meeting, I noticed deck plate leadership, functional leadership. It was an informal meeting in both of them, more in the first one though, and they followed an agenda, and then the biggest topic of discussion was the Ag Dinner Dance. So deck plate leadership is interacting and learning what are the challenges, strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities present, emphasizing both task orientation with relationship. So they like to go through each point on the agenda, even though the biggest topic of discussion was the Ag Dinner Dance. They wanted everyone to understand what was going on, if there was any corrections, additions, or future events to add to it. So they kind of just took a minute for each group to understand, okay, yep, we got it. And if someone had a question, they would take the time for each point, which is really good. For functional leadership that's focused on behaviors that are needs and help the group achieve its goals. So they took 5 minutes actually during the meeting to sign up for responsibilities for the Ag Dinner Dance. And they were very open and able to understand the needs of the group. So people took on more than one position if they needed to, which really helped the group function. So the first group, or the first meeting, they kind of broke off into groups by like 25 minutes just because they needed to discuss different tasks and opportunities that they needed to take in order to have a successful event. So by the end of the meeting, the president adjourned the meeting, but it wasn't formal in any sort of way. So yeah. And then the biggest topic of discussion in both meetings was the Ag Dinner Dance, which happened on the 26th. They planned, they prepared, they had diagrams, so different people brought in pictures. They discussed different things like the layout, the decor, even trash cans, because they were at a different venue. So people had already provided some of the stuff and they wanted to be able to get it back to them in a timely manner. And then they took time to speak and discuss on each of these points, depending on the group. This was also ended informally because people started chattering and stuff. Although they followed an agenda, it wasn't super distracting because everyone really understood what they needed to do. And they brought it together, kind of, the president was just like, okay, let's adjourn the meeting now at 5:45. And yeah, so I learned that people are very open and welcoming in this group. They followed the agenda well, they prioritized the group and encouraged responsibility.
There was a work site page that did load, so. But yeah.
All right. Thank you, Alina. I really like the way in talking about the iClub and its organization that you were able to sort of think about adaptation in context, right? This club, of course, in its meeting location and talking through things like the trash cans, right, has some unique structural elements that needed to be dealt with. I also like the way that you were highlighting the communication style and engagement that people were able to do in the group too. I felt that kind of taken together, it made for a really good, well-organized presentation that did a great job of covering some of the key ideas there. So I thought that you did a great job in exploring that and getting us thinking a little bit more. So since this is up as a PDF, what I've had folks do is they can use scroll here, or they can use the numbers here to move between. So well, we'll have you go next. I'll go ahead and share it for those folks too. Welcome to use this to slides, all of that stuff. You should be good to go whenever you're ready. So if you click on the 2, 3, 4, 5, that should allow you to move. I think it's right click right now. So yeah, so you should be able to. Yep, perfect.
All right, so my small group observations, I decided to sit in on the Ely restructuring team. The way I found this club, I heard about it. I have some buddies that are in it, and my friend from the class that I have, he told me about it, and I was telling him like how I need to observe a group, and he's all, well, come over on Wednesday. That's kind of like when it's public night, but we still kind of meet there, and we'll even let you shoot if you want. I'm like, all right, you know, figured I'd kill 3 birds with one stone. I was kind of wanting to look into this for some time, so you know, it was really something to look forward to. And we met like around 6:30. That's when the meeting started at like 6:30, and we got there around 6. You know, just be early, and it was kind of, you know, my friend was kind of running me by everything how it normally works. And shortly around like 6:15, everyone started showing up, and you know, it's ran by John Shorts. He also does the maintenance over in North and Doherty Hall, and I think Alec could also take my word on that. But he kind of runs everything. He's kind of like the coach of the team. And so around 6:15, when everyone showed up, they decided to start a little early. And the thing with a team like this, they all have, everyone in the team has like similar backgrounds. They all come from like farm communities or ranches, and they all kind of know each other, and they hang out outside of class and school, outside of class and the team. And so the background and communication is already really well established there. So that's one of the things that made it easy to like start right off the bat. John started by, you know, welcoming me, saying hi, introducing me, and then he started listing off like the agenda, so kind of like how it was going to go for this practice. And to begin with, he started off by naming a couple of recent dates and kind of going over how the recent competition, which was over in Las Vegas, you know, they went over the stats and the different the new personal best and the overall team score. And then they went on to like discuss the upcoming competition dates. And then after that, he started naming off groups of who would go next onto the posts. And as you can see in this picture right here, the posts are like kind of like these sidewalk type deals, sets of 5. And next to them, you have like a little microphone, which is voice activated. And when you shout whatever word you want to shout, it voice activates the machine, which sends out a circular disc called the clay, and that's how you end up shooting it. And as he named off the groups, like I said, after he named off that first group, they started getting ready, you know, prepping their shotguns and their ammunition, then heading out. And during the practice, I found that, you know, like I said, their communication is really strong. And like they're like 2 sets of posts, so there'd be one here and one there. And if John was in another one, I found that whoever's running at the little booth would be the one giving like constructive criticism, and they were really well at handling at taking it, and they would really try their best to apply it next time that they shot. And oftentimes they would get a little off track, but it was nothing like major, nothing that would really, take them away from the group, from the practice. If anything, it was just friendly, and that's kind of what made it really fun to be there. And towards the end, they even gave me the opportunity to shoot. It was kind of nice, except it was really, really cold, and my fingers were getting kind of numb. But overall, I learned that because of their similar background, that's what made it really well for them to communicate. And and when I asked her about their meetings, they said, this is normally how it goes, it's really nonchalant. We get right down to business, and we have a lot of fun with it. And that was really cool. Any questions?
All right. Thanks so much. It was a whole, it's really interesting to hear about craft changing. It's also good, to have these organizations and groups as an opportunity for you all to learn a little bit more about the clubs and activities and groups that you might be interested in joining if you haven't done so already. I really like the way you were talking about the physical environment and layout, right? Where you have the kind of head of the group positioned and the overall organizational structure in a way that made sense for what this activity was doing and how you were able to engage the participation of members. So really good insights there. And I think some really good explanation of some of the ways that the dynamics of group organization and structure can happen in all sorts of different places. So it should let me log in here just with my regular profile. Okay. Let me screen share for the folks. That should have everything you need there, right? Good to go. Whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Ryan Dobbin-Schmidt. I also did the Ag Dinner Dance Committee. I didn't do the actual Ag Club since I'm part of it. I did something not part of it. I just did the Jump Committee meeting. Did a different one than Eleni actually, but same idea. Ag Club is basically, it's a group of members who are all like work within the ag field, whether that's fish and wildlife, rangeland, livestock, crop and soil. It's basically just they all come together to promote agriculture for the school, and it's one of the biggest clubs here on the UU as well. What exactly was the Ag Dinner Dance Committee? It was a group of members selected from the club to manage the different aspects of the dinner dance that they would need done. So they had somebody for the financing, somebody to get donations, somebody for advertising. They obviously had people to grab the auctioneer and auction items, stuff like that. And it was essentially a fundraiser for the club here at UAU. There's 10 members there. There's only 8 present when I was there for the meeting I was at. They actually didn't do this one in Hope. The one I went to was at the president's house. They did like a little dinner for everybody, kind of hang out and go over. It's a little less formal. But same as she was saying, like it's all a big group of friends. So for them, like they were still able to talk to each other well enough and get things done that they needed to get done. This meeting took place again, like I said, over President's House food. Basically, their goal of this was to get everybody's heads of what they were working on for the Ag Dinner Dance. For the people who are working on donations, asking them, hey, where are you at with this? Hey, where are you at with that? Same with every other group. Basically going down the agenda was mostly just saying, where's everybody's heads at? What work have you done so far? What work are you going to do? And then how can we make it all fit together? Yeah, set my agenda, stuff like that. So. I chose this just because my agriculture background, just because I have a close connection with a lot of people in the group as well. It was pretty much one of those things where it's like, hey, I need to do a final. I was like, can I just like hop in for a meeting or something like that? And they're like, yeah, it's no big deal. So they're all pretty cool with it. What took place in the meeting, kind of went over a little bit already, but really talking about more defined detail, what they wanted the ag dinner dance to look like. At this point, they did have their venue set up of where they were going to go, so this helped them look like, hey, where are we going to set everything up, getting that kind of map placed out. Brainstorming ideas of what they want everything to look like, especially with the decorations group. Hey, what do you want us to bring? What do you want us to set up? What are some ideas you'd like to see? And kind of see where everybody's brain is at. The agenda really helped kind of flow everything because it made it to where it wasn't just one person talking. It's kind of like everybody kind of getting their own fair share and stuff like that. One of the pros and cons I noticed up there is every once in a while they get a little off topic, kind of chatting about random things, but it's a close group of friends, so it's like kind of naturally going to happen. But their leader did do a pretty good job of being able to reel them back in and be like, hey guys, we need to focus on this. Let's get back on it real quick before we talk about other stuff. Really good communication and listening as well. Everybody kind of gave everybody their time that they needed if they were talking about something important. Which I thought was. As for the overall leadership, I said the leader was a little bit more of a delegator because she kind of had the trust that everybody was going to get their job done. That she didn't have to kind of assign everybody to do a certain job. She knew that they're going to be responsible enough to, she'd say, hey, you do this, you do that, bring me what information you got and we'll work together as a team to get it all done. Big kind of thing with respect to maturity as well, in that kind of aspect. For management, I think it helped that everybody had a role. Everybody had their own part to play in this. That kind of helped fit it together well. It wasn't just kind of all over the place. Since everybody had their one thing to focus on, it kind of helped them to like bring everything together. The overall structure, each person kind of listened pretty attentively and took turns and like constructive criticism towards each other to make sure that like, hey, that just seems like really bad. They weren't like rude about it. They were like pretty helpful about it. What did I learn for this? I mean, it was kind of cool to see the inside look of what planning a large scale event like this looks like. As well as the importance of relationships in groups. I feel like if this is a lot of people who didn't really know each other too well trying to plan a large scale event, especially when things got off task and be kind of haywire, things wouldn't really flow as well, and it might have been a little harder to get set up. And the event ended up turning out really great, and I think the structure of the relationships that had really helped with that. How does this connect to class? I said it connects in a ton of ways, actually, mainly in leadership examples and the different forms that it had. It also showed the struggles of small group communications at times with the random chatter and the off-topic subjects, but they always managed to come back in with that. As well as I saw a lot of active listening. See, when somebody was talking about something important, everybody was very attentive, staring at them, you know, not on their phones, not doing something to the side. And questions were asked when they needed to be asked, and so there was no confusion with anything.
Great work, Ryan. I really like the way toward the end you brought up the point here about how there was sort of this ability to achieve tasks, get the ag dinner going really well, in part because of the trust, and as you mentioned before, delegation that happened within the group. That, as we've talked about in the course, right, that creating trust and a good relationship among group members takes time. And the ability to rely on, and as a leader, essentially lean on those connections in order to ensure that things get done smoothly in the way that they should be is a challenging, but I think a really important skill. So I really appreciated the ways that you were able to show us the success of the group, the successful elements of delegation, and the way that despite things like distractions, you can still have a group able to come together and work together well. So thanks for doing this. So Gabby, we'll have you go up next. Should be all set to use the slides and all that. So ready, we'll have you take it away. All right.
Right, so I chose the Clackamas Calming Move, which isn't on campus, obviously. It's at my old high school, Clackamas High School. And it's a group that's focused on mental health awareness and support. They meet every Monday, almost every week, and it's meant for high school students as an after-school group just to talk about mental health. They plan public events, like I know the leader was talking about having I don't know how to explain it. They would bring in dogs, basically, emotional support dogs for finals week, just if people need emotional support. And it's usually in person, but they do online calls just in case you can't make it. And I chose to observe this group because it's from my old high school, it was a little bit easy to ask. And I mean, I'm friends with a lot of the members, especially the leaders, so it's really easy to ask. They just sit there. And what was the meeting about? Meeting started off with a presentation given by the leader where each month, at the start of the month, they talk about the main mental subject of that month. And then the second half is just conversating about that or just having general conversations or thoughts that are happening. And this ties into the class, what we've learned by the preparation of the meeting. I know the leader, she was talking about spending hours working on the presentation she was giving out for class and stressing out about that, which plays a big role into that. How the guidelines and meetings were set up, the facilitation, counters used on groupthink and the themes of concept. So these are some of the ones we learned in class. Send a message if it can't be late. People would reach out if they couldn't make it or not. And if you were late, you just showed up whenever you could. I mean, it's a high school group. I don't think anybody's going to be on you for that. And then preparation material, like I said, the presentation took hours to prepare and was made ahead. For attention, everyone paid attention. There was, of course, like looking off at your phone every once in a while, but for the most part, everybody was on task. Clearness and conciseness, presentation and the questions were clear. And waiting to express views. This is especially important considering it's a mental health group. So everybody kind of just let, whoever was talking, get what they wanted off their chest and then move on. Challenging of assumptions. Assumptions were challenged, such as like beliefs or stigmas towards these mental healths that were being shown. And knowing when to give in, that one was kind of hard to observe because you can't really definitively say if someone gave in or anything, but that one is a little iffy on how you say it. And then guidelines used in the meeting, identified the goal, the presentation was laid out, had a main theme in place, and that was like the main topic of that unit. Deciding who needs to come, just the main leader would reach out to anybody, and whoever couldn't make it, that was fine. Producing a clear, useful agenda. The agenda may not have been set out, but there's kind of like a group norm where at the start of the month, you're gonna have your presentation about that subject, and then as the weeks go on, it's gonna be more just personal stuff. And then arriving early, again, arriving depends on the person. It's not so much on that. And then not stretching out. The meeting ended when nobody else had anything to say. So like after conversation kind of died down, everybody just kind of accepted that they were done and just would move on through the rest of their day. And then how facilitation was used. Meeting was started on time, started positive through the presentation. So the presentation had, I think the first slide was pictures of like dogs, just to get everybody like focused in. And then they kept to the loose agenda that's already put in place by previous meetings. The way it was guided was you could ask questions whenever you wanted through the presentation, and it wasn't like you're gonna sit here and watch this presentation and then talk about it. It was like you can discuss as you go along. So there's no dictation of the order. And then no sue or nobody speaks twice until everybody speaks once. That was kind of put also in place. It was just kind of like a understanding that if you're going to want to talk about something, you're going to have to listen in return. It's that trade-off. And then checking in for understanding, making sure everybody understood the presentation and whatnot. Avoiding sarcasm and cynicism. That's extremely important because mental health. I know I wouldn't want someone being sarcastic about that. And then a quick midway break was put in place just to make sure everybody was comfortable or that people had time to basically sit and think. And then respect was being shown, again, really important. And then thinking before you talked, thinking out what you were going to say before you actually said it. And then calendars that were used to stop group thinking and blocking. So a main calendar was just allowing people to say what they want and discussing it, not making people feel down about what they were saying, but also like trying to understand their perspective, because again, mental health is something everyone feels differently. It's not the same from person to person. And then making it a safe space, which most of the people in the group are friends to begin with, so it's really easy to do. And how the Clackamas Common Room and how it ties into our class.
Great job, Gavin. One thing that is really striking me at this stage is how varied the groups you all chose to observe were. It strikes me that context, whether it's something like Ag Club, whether it's trap shooting, or whether it's a group that's focused on issues of mental health and well-being, right, has a lot of different norms and expectations. I really like the way, Gavin, for this presentation, you like laid out, here are some of the ideas and concepts from the course on the left side, and on the right side, here are direct ways that the group practice those things. It's really cool to see folks using and really applying some of the things that we've talked about from the course pretty directly into the observations. So really great work on that, and overall, really good work so far as we're going through these. So Devin is our last presenter of the day. So if you still need one more for your attendance credit for the day, definitely recommend doing that for this presentation. So Devin, whenever you're ready, you're welcome to take it away.
All right, guys. So my name's Devin. Today I'm talking to you guys about a Subway team meeting. I chose this because I kind of waited till the last minute to do it, and was running out of stuff to attack. Tried emailing a couple people, was stressing out, but I have a friend that works at Subway, and I was telling him about it, and he was just like, "Well, I got a team meeting coming up. I talked to my manager, see if you can just sit in. It's a Zoom meeting, so it was pretty easy to get in." So he talked to the manager had no issue, so I got to learn a little bit more about Subway. So I'm gonna share with you guys my findings. So am I supposed to hit the arrow or space bar? No, neither.
Double check it for you. There you go. Click should, or click right there.
Gotcha. Anyway, so the parameters. So this meeting took place on Friday, February 25th at 10 a.m. The store is open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So it's kind of hard to make a time where everyone can be in attendance. So due to this, 3 workers couldn't attend this meeting, but they were discussed to in person by the manager one-on-one. So everything that went over in the meeting, those workers did get, told the same information, so everyone in the team is on the same page. And those 3 workers also did get paid double time for that 1 hour, because since this is mandatory, they have to pay you because it's a work, it's not a club, it's a job. So if it's a mandatory meeting, if you're mandatory to be there for the job, then they got to be paying you. So everything was fair, and everyone still got the same amount of communication, which is good. It was held on Zoom for convenience because it was at 10 a.m. and it was on some people's days off. So didn't want to have them drive in and do something. It's easier to just log in on your phone or laptop just to keep the communication going. Cameras were on. Manager did ensure that because they wanted to make sure everyone was there and present to get in this information. That's going to be important to how the whole store runs. It's a business and it's dealing with money, so they want to make sure that the store is really, in tip top. And plus, since it is being paid, they want to make sure you're present because they want to be paying you to be like laying in bed and playing video games. And the meeting was split into 2 parts. There's a management meeting first, and then there's all team meeting, which I'll get into next. So the management meeting. So the management meeting is actually what started at 10 a.m. and was 10:30. I sat in on both meetings, so I sat there for the full hour. But they broke into the manager. So both meetings were led by the manager. There were shift leads, and there were like assistant managers, and then there was the manager. She was the one that led pretty much everything, conducted the whole meeting, everything. But some of the topics they discussed are stuff that's just related to what the managers need to know. They didn't want to have everyone there for stuff that only the managers need to know, because then that's just an extra 30 minutes that people that don't need to know this information, don't need to care about this information, just sitting there and, you know, having the mind wander. So they talk about sales and goals and revenue goals, because they have like criteria they need to meet as a store of how much sales they need to produce, as well as shifting stores to prepare for summertime. That's what pretty much this whole meeting is about. My friend and I was talking, they only have about 3 meetings a year, and it's only between seasons and when they need to shift like products, because summertime obviously gets a lot more busy, more traffic's coming through, so they got to up like the amount of food they produce so they can have stuff to sell. So that's pretty much what this whole meeting is about for both management and the team. So they talked a lot about just some housekeeping stuff about like ordering and ordering shipments and freezable and red pulls. That's just prep. That's what managers' jobs are. Is they're the ones that put in the orders in for getting new, more supplies. They're the ones that do in freezable and red pull to make sure that the store is having the amount of food they need to, like, you know, be able to sell. Without that, then the whole store gets backed up for days and days, and then all of a sudden they don't have enough, like they don't have any ham to sell, they don't have any bread of this kind of bread to sell, so it could be an issue. They talk about temp charts a lot, and that was talked about in both the meetings, you see coming up. It's supposed to be done by managers, but it's necessary. So manager or shift lead cannot be there. Then they talk about the team, because it's a health code thing where they got to take temps off everything that's on the line every hour to make sure those temps are the right temperature to serve. It's like health code thing. And as well as behavior concerns about any employees. This is the management team, so that's when they're supposed to talk about if they have any major issues with the employees. Any employees have come to them with any issues, because at the end of the day, it's a job and they got to keep things healthy. And of course, upcoming promotions. They talked about, you know, summer deals, discounts, how to, like, you know, we're going to register that stuff. And then at 10:30 is when everyone else started joining, everyone else in the team that wasn't the shift leads and managers did stay to hear, you know, the whole meeting. But some of the topics discussed there was also they talked about promotions for everyone again, just like letting them know. They talked about how they are going to be switching to summertime, so there is going to be some more stuff. So if, like, you start pulling lava bread or you start baking lava bread, don't be like weird, like that's going to be happening. And then taking temps, like I said, the whole team talked about, it's like it's a big health code thing, so everyone's got to be on the same page there. And new portions is what something they went over. They go over the management, they went over everything. A couple of the sandwiches, like the chicken, teriyaki, and whatnot, they got like less meat added to them because I don't know, Subway's being cheap. I don't know. And cleaning discussion. So this was something that was brought up by one of the team members. Actually, they discussed the manager. She's a very strong leader. She had an agenda that she followed through both meetings. She was constantly like looking at her list, seeing what they were talking about next. The manager came very prepared and organized for this meeting, which I think maximized efficiency and made everything like worth being there. And one of the things was cleaning. Some employees weren't washing dishes properly and, you know, soaking it properly. It was like an issue. So they discussed that about how, you know, to make clean. And for the adjournment, so the manager asked if anyone had any questions. They discussed any behavioral issues, anything like that. And the manager let it be known that anyone can message her privately if they have any concerns they don't want to discuss for the whole meeting and everything. And the meeting did end up ending early. It's supposed to go to 11. It ended at like 10:50-ish because no one really had any time to talk. So some observations I made is the meeting was conducted really well. This was a very strong leader who had some great leadership traits. And she made sure everyone was on the same page. Everyone was feeling like, you know, she made sure everyone was present, because it's really important, because in this like a restaurant location, there's some people that were in the meeting and probably never worked with each other. Like there's some people that work only morning shifts, some people work only night shifts. And it's really important that there's people on the same page, because at the end of the day, it's on the same product and everything's important. So it will hopefully allow them to make smoothness in the summer. And the meeting was indeed conducted in a timely manner. That's all I got for you. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Devin. One thing that I found really interesting about the structure and talk about was they don't have very many meetings, like 3 meetings a year. And so the way that they were able to efficiently cover a lot of content during those meetings go over some agenda items and also have that split between management and all staff is interesting, along with also some of the kind of guidelines and rules related to sanitation and all of that, right? Again, hitting on some of the ways that group norms, behavior, and so on can really shape the way that we communicate with each other. So I was really impressed with folks who shared their work for today. Let's go ahead and give another round of applause to everybody who briefly shared on the first day. Awesome job. Great work on that. So we'll hear the next round of presentations on Wednesday. So if you have already finished your observations here, go ahead and either email them to me or pass them forward if you haven't done so already. If you still need to finish, you're welcome to take a minute or two to wrap up that. Once you have completed your observations on the presentation, for those of you that haven't presented today, then you're good to go. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I look forward to hearing the next round of small group observations on Wednesday. Yeah. Great.